sometimes it's like, look for your biggest issue, challenge you're having in the business. And at times it's like, look, find someone that's been there, done that, that can just jump you 3 years ahead.
Welcome to UpTech Report. This is our Applied Tech series. UpTech Report is sponsored by TerraLeap. Learn how to leverage the power of video at terraleap.io. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by my guest, Andrew Scivally, who's based in Utah. He's the co-founder and CEO at eLearning Brothers. Welcome, Andrew. Good to have you on.
Hi, thanks.
Now, eLearning Brothers, you guys have products and services. You're all focused on helping create more engaging and effective learning. Help me understand, let's just start with the problem. Before we get to the history and learning all about what came there, what was the problem that you initially saw and set out to solve?
Yeah, so basically, there are lots of companies that are trying to train their employees, right? And typically, in the early days, they were trying to go from, they were doing a lot of classroom type training, and they were trying to figure out how do we do that online? Or actually the question was, should we do it online? Should we even care? Does it work? No one believed in online learning. So initially it was all around how do we help you build online learning? And then it became more around, okay, now you've done that, but the learning is really boring. And for lack of a better adjective right now, it's just crappy learning, right? So it got all around, how do we make that more engaging, more interactive? How do you build just online learning that is just, that can be awesome, right? And so that was really the issue is, how do you get learning online? Where do you start? How do you do that? But then once you do it, how do you make it engaging, interactive, fun, inspiring, and all of that? And so that was kind of the evolution of it. However, now it really became in the last, year and a half with the pandemic and all that, everyone got forced to do it online. So it was no matter of, should we do it online? It was like, hey, if you're going to onboard employees or do regulatory training, compliance training, product training, any of the sales training, you don't have a choice right now. Right now, you have to do it online. And so then it really got into, okay, everyone's forced to do this. How do you get the content ready? And then how do you deliver that and get that out to the employees and customers?
And we'll definitely get back to that whole conversation today. That's where we are. It's no longer a question, should we be doing it? It's okay, how are you doing it? But going back to the history, it was 2009 that you started it. Is that correct?
Yeah, we started the company in 2009. My brother and I did.
Okay. Did you guys just talk one day and say, we should do something? What did that look like?
Yeah, so for us, we were both in this space. This is where we got started. And I was working at JP Morgan Chase doing online learning there. And he was actually over at Wendy's, the fast food place, and working at their corporate headquarters, helping them build their online learning, doing things like the hamburger challenge and the chicken challenge and all that kind of stuff. And but really, through a big life event that happened, kind of got forced into needing to figure out, how could he work from home and take care of the things that he needed to do. And we've always had this idea of creating a business. We'd love to do it, but we just hadn't done anything like that before. And so, started thinking about, well, maybe we could start a business of our own. And all we know how to do is online learning, and he was more on the graphic multimedia side, and I was more on the instructional design side. And so we said, why don't we do that? Why don't we start a company doing that? And you would think that the name eLearning Brothers was incredibly obvious, easy, hey, we're brothers and we're both in e-learning, so let's call the company eLearning Brothers. It wasn't. There were multiple other names that were suggested and all that kind of stuff, and then eventually eLearning Brothers came out. But so yeah, in 2009, he was working full-time in the business from his basement. I was still employed at Zions Bank, making good money there, and just had a nice job. And so I was helping out, as much as I could, and at lunch and evenings and stuff. And then 2010, I was able to come over full time. Yeah, I was working in our basements. That's where it all started. And then hiring employees that would come to our basements and work at card tables and, sit there. So
if you look back now, the past 12 years, is that right now?
Yeah.
If you could go back and tell yourself something that you know now, I mean, there's a lot that happened in 12 years, but if you had to pick one or two things, what would that be?
I think for us, we were so new to running our own business. We didn't know anything. We knew our craft, right? So we knew how to build online learning. We knew that piece of it, but we didn't know the business side of it. And I'm not talking just like financial QuickBooks stuff, right? I'm talking more around like, what the structure of like who is your target customer? How are you marketing to that customer? How are you, gathering, nurturing those leads? What does your sales team or process look like? How do you standardize some of that? Digital marketing campaign, like we didn't know any of that. And so I think I would, maybe not the advice necessarily that I give myself, but kind of the direction I point myself in is say, hey, look, a business is more than just doing your craft, right? Lots of people are good at, whatever it is they do, but the business is more than that. So it's like, how are you going to take care of the other parts of this business? How do you create a lead flow that you can sustain? Who exactly are you trying to talk to? And then another thing I've realized over time is, well, I've always known I'm not the smartest guy, that's okay. But the piece is that, as you hire additional talent, man, they can really help. So, I mean, if someone that knows their craft in a certain area can really take you to new levels. And so hiring the right people, obviously we all know that's important, but sometimes it's like, look for your biggest issue, challenge you're having in the business. And at times it's like, look, find someone that's been there, done that, that can just jump you 3 years ahead.
Could you have seen the value at the time of like, all right, we need to hire somebody who knows what all they're doing and bring them on board, but it's their own cash? Could you have made that decision?
No, that's the issue, right? When you're bootstrapping, every penny counts. And the challenge though is when to be frugal and cost conscious versus when do you say, you know what, if we don't go out here and spend this money, like we're just not going to get there, right? So sometimes it's like, look, we're trying to go here and we're doing the exact same things every day that aren't getting us there. What makes us think that we can keep doing that and get there? Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just more time, more learning, whatever it is. But sometimes it's like, look, you've got to do something different here. And that might mean like going to pay big money to bring someone that knows what the heck they're doing. But no, it's a challenge, right? I mean, it's, we started with 2 computers and again, our basements. And so there wasn't a lot of cash needed. However, especially now we bump into things where it's like, look, we need more money. That's how you solve this issue. We know what to do. We just can't afford it. Mm-hmm. So there's challenges on both sides.
Any lessons learned on maybe wrong hires and what to avoid and what you keep your eyes out for now?
Yeah. I mean, we've had some people that were the right hire at that time, and then over time weren't a fit anymore, or things happen in life, and so especially when you're a small company, all the employees their lives become your life, right? So if someone's going through a really rough divorce, or if they've got challenges with the child, medical things, or they just start making some choices in their life that take them down a path that isn't jiving with your culture or your business, or they're not happy in life. I mean, whatever it is, that person's life impacts the business in a big way when it's 10 of you, right? I mean, it does. And so suddenly, there's at times when you have someone on board and you're really relying on them heavily. And let's say all of a sudden they go through a really hard divorce and they're checked out now, right? They're just broken for whatever reason. And you have to have a conversation and say, look, I'm sorry this is happening, but what can we do, right? Can we make this work? And sometimes that person, might just be, you know what? We can't. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to the company. Like, I need to check out. So there are things like that happen. And
what do you do as a leader in those situations? Like, how are you feeling? How are you thinking? How do you address those?
Here's the thing. I mean, again, especially when you're small, these are people become your friends, right? And in our case, a lot of times they're our family as well. And so for me, the number one thing is it all comes down to the relationship of trust. So I'm really big on you need to be able to trust the people that you work with. And you need to trust that they have your back, that they have the company's back, that they want to do what's best for everyone. They're not, saying things behind your back that, they wouldn't say in front of your face, that they truly care. Now, you also need to trust that they're competent in what they do. However, it's that, for me, it's that first trust. And that's the kind of people that I've always looked for. It's like, look, we're going to be working together a lot. Let's actually trust each other. And if we can do that, then all the conversations we have, you know what, we can just say what we need to say, and we can talk about what the real issues are in the business or whatever it is. And I love you, I care about you, I want the best for you. However, look, this is what's happening. Let's talk about that. And when someone can't do that, or when they betray that trust, that's when it becomes really hard in the business, because you need that person needs to be genuine with you. You need to know who they are. And then if they can't do that, and if they're lying and hiding things, then it becomes really difficult to work together, especially in that small team environment. What
would you say was a lesson learned or a tactic that really worked for you guys to be able to scale and start to acquire more and more customers?
Getting a sales team. That maybe sounds stupid, but again, I didn't know what I didn't know. And I still don't know what I don't know, right?
Did you hire like a head of sales, like right out the gate, or did you hire just junior salesperson and try to show them and then they take it from there? What was your approach?
Not even that. I mean, what we did early on was we built templates and assets. So we were selling things on a website. And so it was all just us writing blogs, and hopefully people would find our content, right, and pay us, $50 and download a template. So kind of fun and sort of addicting as well, though, because we use an old service called eJunkie, and I don't even know if it's around anymore. But eJunkie is like the perfect name for it, because anytime a sale would come in, you get an email from eJunkie that would say, "Hey, you got money," and it was almost like getting a drug, and you're like, I got a sale. But it was that was our model early on, right? And it was helping people find that website. We go to conferences and stuff like that, and we'd wake up in the morning, check your email, you're like, I made money while I slept last night. This is amazing. And I would often think about those late night infomercials. I don't know, it's Tony Robbins, whoever it is, right? And they're like, you too can make money, in your sleep, with only 2 hours of work every day, whatever it was. But that's fine and all that. But as the business grew, it was like, look, we were doing a decent amount online, but there were a lot of other things we wanted to sell and other places we wanted to go. So when I hired a sales leader and said, okay, look, we need a sales team of some kind, right? And when I was able to bring in a sales leader that just been there, done that, it's like, look, I do sales all day long. I was like, wow, you've opened my eyes to that's a whole profession, right, of sales. Like, oh, it's more than just being a nice guy and getting on the phone. I'm like, there's, actual things you're like, arts of the craft. So anyway, that was a big step for us, getting some people in there that really know what they're doing. Now I couldn't hire a $300,000 CRO or whatever it is. We had to start where we could, but hiring a sales team was a big thing for us.
What year did eLearning you see start to take off, or was it already taking off in 2009? Was it an easy sale? Oh yes, we want this.
It was doing well. I'm trying to think, for us, probably 2012, 2013 is where things started to click. And I guess, you say click, but for any entrepreneur, I think that's growing a business, it's like, hey, it's nice where we're at, but you're never content where it's at, right? You always see the potential, and you're like, man, it could be so much more. So we're always pushing for that. So I'm never at ease feeling like it's just working. I always see it and I'm like, okay, that's great, we got here. However, let's focus on what's next. And so there's always this uneasiness inside that says, oh man, we should be a lot further along than we are. we are.
And you think that's a good thing to have that unease inside you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends how you handle it in your personal life, but I do. I mean, I'm never content with where we're at. It's just, we should be $1 billion business, right? But we're not. Like, why aren't we? It's like the potential's there, the market's there, the people that are talented. So I don't know. I always feel that urge inside to keep pushing harder.
How big is your team today?
We're about 150 employees.
Is there any tactics or ways that have worked well for you to keep that the vision and culture together as a team?
Yeah, I mean, that's challenging. We've acquired 3 companies over the past, just under a year and a half. And so that is a challenge, and especially challenging right now when we're not able to, or haven't been able to get together much, if at all, face to face and drive that. So that is challenging. And, I guess part of what I guess the thought I prescribe to right now is, look, you've got to come up with a vision and decide what you'd like to do. However, I always tell my team, I do reserve the right to change my mind. So it's like, look, let's go do this, and that's great, and we're going to go that route until something tells us that we shouldn't do that anymore, or that there's a better way to do it, or whatever it is. So we can deviate, but you got to choose something, right? And you have to go for it. On the culture piece, I think, again, for me, a lot of it boils down to lately is being able to pop around to different groups and keep reminding them of what we're trying to do. And then also getting in there and not a pep talk necessarily, but going in and when, we're all feeling overworked and we're feeling like, we're pushing really hard and sometimes it just doesn't seem to work. But to be able to go in there and say, hey guys, look, I understand that we're having lots of hard things. I get it. I'm with you. It's hard for everyone. However, remember, like, where we're going is this, it's going to be amazing and it's going to be hard. And guess what? We're going to do more and more and more. And so it's always going to be challenging. However, we're trying to be like the best learning technology business in the world. So it's like, we've got amazing things we're going after. And so I think people, yeah, well, and the thing is, hey, look, if you want easy and calm and everything's the same every day when you walk in, and you're kind of doing the same job, and it's just, you sleep easily every night, this probably isn't the business to be in, right? A small company that's pushing really hard to grow, it's crazy and it's chaotic. If you like that, great. If you don't, well, go hide in some big company somewhere and just, work 20 hours a week and, eat lunch the rest of the time and hide there. But, that's not what we're trying to do.
You bootstrapped for a long time, but then you did raise some funds with the mentality of acquisition. Can you speak to that plan?
So we basically bootstrapped for about just over 10 years. And then, we got to a point where the product that we were pushing really hard, it was kind of becoming commoditized a bit in this market. And it wasn't as unique and special as it used to be. And so, we saw that, and we either partnered with companies and they had our product embedded, or others were just, building their own stuff and they didn't need us. So looking at that, it was basically like, okay, well, you've got a couple options. You can just take a product like that and just milk it for all the cash you possibly can and just kind of write it down. And, or you can say, no, that's not the route we want to go, and we want to grow, and you can build new products or acquire different things or whatever it is.
Do you remember that moment you had this conversation trying to figure this out?
No, it's more of an evolution, right? So sometimes it takes a bit to wrap your brain around what's happening. Sometimes you're so close, right? And so you're pushing really hard on certain things and you're like, why am I not getting the results I used to get? And suddenly, maybe you start looking at things and you start piecing together some information and conversations and all that. And you're like, well, maybe it's this other thing that I just wasn't thinking about. And so for us, it was kind of an evolution like that. And so when I kind of came to that decision in my head, I basically said, look, well, I guess the decision too, you can kind of write it to the ground a little bit and just kind of get the cash and sock it away, and try to make sure that things work in the future. Or you can sell your business, right? You can sell it to a strategic or something like that, and tuck yourself in somewhere. Or the other thing is, I'm like, well, everyone's getting purchased in this world. Why can't we do that? Like, why can't we be the ones that go acquire the businesses and grow that way? And so instead of going deeper in our one product, why can't we go in a more breadth? And instead of taking customers, taking care of their learning right here, why can't we take care of all of their learning needs across building all the content and also delivery tracking of all the content? And so that was where I said, you know what, that's what I would like to do. And, I had to make some adjustments on our team. We had to part way with some people that I had to pull out of some other areas that we were doing some partnership stuff, and just said, look, we as a business, we need to do this other thing. And that's really where I want to take it. And if you love to do that, awesome. And if you can be on board with that, phenomenal. Then let's go do it. If you don't, and that's not what you want to do, that's okay. We could still be friends, but you need to go do something else. And so we did have some change. We exited some people, and I basically said, this is the plan I want to do. And then I went to the investors and said, this is the plan. And I was lucky enough to find an investment group, actually 2 investment groups, that said, hey, that plan sounds great. And so we went ahead and brought on equity.
Did you already already have these relationships with these equity companies? Were you cultivating? How did that turn around?
Obviously, I mean, we'd had investment companies chasing us for years. But this particular one I had met through a different process, and went back to them and said, hey, here's how we've restructured some things. And what do you think about this new plan? And they said, yeah, we like that one a lot better. So I learned some good lessons on the first round that we went through. But yeah, so I took it to them, and they said, look, well, what companies would you like to purchase? And I said, well, here's the plan, and here are the companies. I've known these owners for many, many years. So all the companies that we've been buying, I'm friends, and I've known their companies for a long time. And so we've been able to go in there and say, okay, how do we do this together, guys? And we have more acquisitions coming, and we're not stopping.
What's your mentality of where you're headed? Like, what are you excited about, and why these acquisitions?
If you look at corporations, so we typically, we deal with businesses. That's 95% of our business. So it's companies. A lot of them are U.S. based, but some are international as well. But they're all trying to figure out, how do you train your employees and your customers? One of their big challenges, though, is, look, you can't. Right now, you typically can't go to one company to get all that taken care of, right? You have all of this training content that you either have to build, or you have to buy off the shelf from somewhere, or you have to get someone to build it for you. So you have all these content needs. And then you also need to put it on a platform to host it, deliver it, track it, and do all that kind of stuff. And then in the middle of all that, you say, okay, well, man, I want to build like really interactive type content. I want to build mobile learning. I want to do VR stuff. I want to try gaming. Maybe there's chatbot, stuff you want to look at, like all these things you want to do. Right now in our world, there's not one company that let's say you're Walmart, right? Let's say you're Walmart and you want to take care of all those training needs. You have to go to like 5 different companies. And so for us, the story is, hey, look, let's start building out this entire solution where a company can come to us and say, hey, eLearning Brothers, I want to build my own content. And we have tools where they can build their own content, build your own VR, build your own games. Or they can say, no, we want you guys to build it. So we'll build it all for them. And so they can take all this content need, and then if they have a platform, awesome. We work with tons of platforms out there to deliver content. But if they don't, we can say, hey, look, we also have a platform to deliver all of that learning. And so we really wanted to create the whole solution where we could take care of all of that if the customer needed it. Our other belief is that, I think a lot of companies say this, but I don't know if they truly believe it, but we really believe that there's tons of business out there, right? And we fully understand that companies are dealing with lots of different learning providers, and we have no issue with that. So we would love to help you where we can. chances are the other vendors you're using, we probably know them well and we're probably friends with them. And so we partner with our competitors all the time, and we'll do webinars together, do different things. And I think you get more business from being friendly with each other and working together on things than you ever get being siloed and trying to, fight against all the other people.
You don't worry about competition. You don't really see it that way.
Some people don't, but again, I've been in this industry my whole life, basically, over 20 years now. That's all I do is learning. And I know a lot of the owners that have built these businesses. They're wonderful people. And you know what? They're all just trying to build a business like we are. And there's plenty of spaces for us to collaborate and partner.
What are you most excited about in the future of e-learning?
So a lot of what's happening now is what's called upskilling and reskilling, right? So we know that right now the labor market's tight, right? And it's hard to find employees, and things change so quickly now. So to be able to upskill someone into different jobs, right? To be able to take someone and help them understand how do I learn new skills to get into different areas. So, or how do I reskill them? Because what you're doing today may be totally different tomorrow, right? The tech that you use, the process you use, whatever it is. So you need to upskill your employees. You need to reskill your employees. So we're seeing a ton of that. And then the other big thing is learning in the flow. Now, I believe, and this is Christian Weeble, our Chief Product Officer, he talks a lot about this. Learning needs to be where you are, right? We shouldn't have to have you go to a place to do learning. Learning should be where you already live in your job. So for example, if your communication platform that you're using every day is Slack, well, when you're in Slack, you're learning, your next learning, whatever it is, everything should just be like right there, one click, and you're in the middle of your learning. Or if you're out in the field working on, I don't know, maybe you're out working on oil and gas lines. Well, when you're out there and you need help and you need to be learning in that moment, it should be in the flow of that job. You should have a way to actually, hold your phone up over something, and the augmented reality is just showing you like the different parts and pieces. And you click right now to go get your coach help, or you click right now to be able to see something. And so we believe in, learning, again, in the flow of your job. Learning should not be a separate event. It should be part of your job and work flow.
What has changed in where your time is spent, the way you look at your day and you go about it? How does it look on an average day for you today compared to where it was?
So the hours I spend are pretty much the same. I'm really big on. My dad would always say, right, you work to live, you don't live to work. Work is extremely important, but really at the end of the day, work is what's putting food on the table, taking care of the families, and all that kind of stuff. And so, it's my hours are fairly normal hours. It's rare that I'm working on Saturdays, and I'm never working on Sundays. And it's a balance you have to have. I mean, if you can only run for so long, not taking care of a certain part of your life until it's going to implode. And, it makes me a bit sad. I run into entrepreneurs at times and they're like, man, I live at the office. I've got a bed under my desk and whatever it is. And I start talking to them more and I'm like, yeah, they're divorced. Their kids hate them. And, they're just not happy, but business is doing well. I'm like, well, okay. I mean, I feel like you kind of sacrificed probably the thing that you thought was most important to you, and why you were actually doing the business was take care of your family, but it ended up, getting rid of your family. So I'm big on trying to balance that. So for me, there's family responsibility, there's business responsibility, and there's, spiritual church type responsibility. And for me, those three legs need to be intact. And together, all of those allow me to take care of all the other ones. And so there's a time and a place to do all of them. And at times they encroach on each other, and that's fine. But that can't be the norm, right? When it's business hours, I need to take care of the business stuff and try to get that done. If it's Sunday, well, for me personally, then okay, that's not business time. That needs to be something else. And that's family time, and that's church spiritual time. In the evenings, that's family time. And so are there exceptions? Do things happen? Well, absolutely, right? Life is not this perfect, little thing in a snow globe, right? So that's, for me, learning, everything has a time and a place. And you can't, I don't think you can run too long, not being able to take care of, for me, those legs. It just won't work, and everything's going to be unhealthy.
Is there anything you've done or helped try to focus on to help that work-life balance when everyone is wrong?
Well, I'm trying to think, I think there's, everyone reacts to stress differently. And, for me, I guess, fortunately, the pandemic hasn't been a stressful thing for me. It's been an opportunity to see my kids more and to try new things. The business is always stressful anyway. So, whether doing business in that pandemic or it's just, so my life is always stressful, but it's okay. So, I think it's just, look, do what you can, try to get the stuff done. Don't stress about it too much. It's like, look, it's just stuff. And so trying to remind ourselves that, look, there's always more to be done. You could work all day, every day, never get it all done, but do as much as you can, put your heart and desire in the right place. Work with the team to, figure out, hey, how do we get these things done? How do we make it easier on the business, on ourselves? And then, and just be open with people, talk to people and say, hey, look, this is what I'm trying to get done. And it's not working for me. And I'm feeling X, Y, and Z. And that's where the trust comes in, I trust my team, and I'm not too worried about if they need to take a day off or whatever. It's like, look, you guys, we have a lot to get done. Let's figure it out.
You weren't always happy. You're like, I want this to grow. But that balance with, you're like, well, yeah, there's stress, but you do as much as you can. So they seem to be, those two are at odds always with you. Or if you're like, you want to grow, but you're like, you don't stress about it too much.
Well, I guess just my personality is, though, that, there's always a load on me anyway. So I don't know. I can't remember, we obviously spoke before, but, I've got 9 kids, and so obviously, there's a lot of responsibility there. And, my wife is amazing, and she's a saint, and she obviously helps out a ton, and, we couldn't do it without each other. But, with the kids and the business, and, like I said, my belief in serving and being active in some type of, religious type thing as well. There's a lot of demands on time, but you can't it's a terrible life to live if you always feel like you're behind on everything, right? It's like, just accept that at sometimes you're not going to be exactly where you want to be in all these places. That's okay. Now, I always want the business to grow, but I'm not willing to sacrifice some things to make it grow, though, right? I'm not willing to sacrifice all of my weekends and all of that to do that. But there are ways to make it grow and still have life.
Has there been any key takeaways for you over the last 30 years that you're like, wow, doing this actually really helps the business grow, whether it's in the marketing or team or culture? Is there any takeaways for you?
Yeah, going back to something that we talked about a little bit earlier, finding the right people, right? If you find the right people that are actually identifying problems and solving those for you, and actually looking for ways to, help the business grow and all that, that's been incredibly valuable for us. Finding really good, talented people that have the right attitude about it as well, right? It's not easy, but if they have a good, positive attitude and they can make things happen, awesome, And I also think that if by keeping things balanced in your life, and I'm not talking about shirking on your responsibility and saying, I'm not going to take care of that stuff. I'm saying, get the things done that you need to get done. But by balancing out all the other things in your life, I think it actually makes you a more level-headed person. It makes you a happier person, which actually means you're going to be better in all the things that you're doing. That's one thing I've realized more and more over time is people are looking to you, and they're watching how you respond to things, how you behave, what you think is important, and everything you say, whether you mean it or not, it carries weight. And so So just remembering like, all right, what's about to come out of my mouth, someone actually is listening to. And I chuckle sometimes. I'm like, guys, I'm just a normal person like you. Like, who cares what I say? But the maybe the stupid reality is, if you're running the business, people like put value on what you say. Maybe they should sometimes, maybe they shouldn't. But remembering that and saying, hey, look, what you say and do can actually impact people. So make sure you're careful with what you say and build those relationships, talk to them personally, do what you can to help. It gets harder when you have more employees. It's hard for me to know everyone now like I used to. And so, doing that. And I think another thing I've learned too is just belief in yourself. Everyone's like, oh, failing is awesome. Failing is this blessing because then you can learn this and you can, like, bull crap. Failing hurts, man. It hurts. It can be demoralizing. No one wants to fail. I don't know. People, I think they're lying if they're like, oh, I love failing. It just teaches me like what I don't need to do next time. I'm like, all right, well, good for you. I don't think most people feel that way. But believing it's okay, right? It's okay to do that. Most of your decisions might even be wrong. However, you got to make a decision and move forward and then adjust when necessary. That's a lot better than being wishy-washy on some decisions. Like, just make a decision and then be aware enough to know if it's right or wrong. But I don't know if you like it. It's like, really? Like, you love going out and failing? Like, that's what you like to do? Oh, because it gets me one step closer to getting the right one. I'm like, well, all right, that's a good perspective. But I think in the moment, it kind of hurts.
For those that want to learn more, you guys can head over to elearningbrothers.com and be able to get a taste of what they're accomplishing. Thank you so much for your time, Andrew.
Hey, you're welcome.
And we'll see you all on the next episode of UpTech Report. Have you seen a company using AI, machine learning, or other technology to transform the way we live, work, and do business? Go to uptechreport.com and let us know.